You were told that the truth would set you free. What they never said is that it will first make you a stranger to yourself. What you're about to hear won't comfort you. It won't validate the story you've been telling yourself about who you are, why you struggle, or what you deserve. This isn't entertainment, this is confrontation. Most men live their entire lives trapped in a cage they can't even see. The bars are built from unchallenged beliefs, emotions they've never controlled, and lies they confuse for virtue. They call this prison being a good person. They call weakness sensitivity. They call fear caution. Maybe you're one of them. I'm not here to motivate you. Motivation is for those who need applause to act. I'm here to reveal something far more valuable and far more painful. The truth about power, control, the nature of men, and the game you're losing without even knowing you're playing. By the end of this, you will have two choices. Retreat to the comfort of your illusions, or step into a world where you see things as they truly are. Most will pick the familiar cage, the warm lies. But if you're still here in 20 minutes, comfort was never meant for you. Let us start with the lie that destroys more men than any other. You believe being good will make you powerful. That kindness is its own reward. That integrity guarantees respect. That if you're just decent, patient, selfless enough, the world will recognize your worth and give you what you deserve. This isn't morality. It's delusion disguised as virtue. Machiavelli understood something that still unsettles people 5 centuries later. Goodness without power isn't a virtue. It's vulnerability wearing a mask of principle. The world doesn't reward the good, it rewards the strategic. It bows to those who know that morality is a tool, not a master. Look at your life honestly. How many times have you been kind and received indifference? How many times have you been patient and watched someone less deserving take what you wanted? How many times have you told yourself, I'm better than that? While someone with fewer scruples walked away with everything, you mistook weakness for virtue. You called your inability to act being the bigger man. You reframed your fear of confrontation as keeping the peace, and the world moved on without you. Here is the truth that no one will tell you. The good man who lacks the capacity for calculated ruthlessness is not good. He is simply harmless, and the world does not respect harmless. It uses it, it exploits it, it forgets it. Real power is not given to those with the purest hearts. It is taken by those with the clearest vision and the will to act when others hesitate. The prince does not ask for permission. He creates conditions where permission becomes irrelevant. You were taught that playing by the rules guarantees fair treatment. But who made the rules? And why did you assume they were made to benefit you? The uncomfortable truth. Every system, every social contract, every moral framework you've ever trusted was designed by someone who understood power better than you do. They built the cage. They taught you to love it, and you've been policing yourself ever since. Now, let's discuss the thing that controls you more than any external force ever could. Your emotions. You've been taught to honor them, to trust them, to believe that how you feel is a valid guide to how you should act. Modern psychology has convinced you that emotional expression is health, that processing feelings is growth, that authenticity means broadcasting your internal chaos to anyone within earshot. This is how they keep you weak. Your emotions are not truth. They are chemical reactions to stimuli evolved over millennia to keep your ancestors alive in an environment that no longer exists. Fear kept the caveman from being eaten. Anger prepared him for physical confrontation. Sadness signaled loss of resources. But you are not a caveman. And treating your emotions as sacred guidance is like navigating a modern city with a map from the Stone Age. Every time you act from emotion, you surrender control. Every time you speak from anger, you reveal your weakness. Every time you make decisions to avoid discomfort, you choose slavery over sovereignty. The Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the known world, wrote to himself in private, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Not your feelings, your mind, but you've been taught the opposite. You've been taught that suppressing emotion is toxic, that controlling your reactions is inauthentic, that discipline is trauma. And so you broadcast your pain. You wear your struggles like badges. You confess your anxiety, your depression, your triggers to anyone who will listen, believing this makes you brave. It doesn't. It makes you a liability. Here's what they don't tell you. The men who shape the world do not expose their internal states. They do not let their emotions determine their strategy. They feel everything you feel, the fear, the doubt, the rage. But they have learned the most important lesson of masculine power. You do not have to obey your emotions just because you experience them. Emotion is information, nothing more. When you feel fear, it tells you where you perceive threat. When you feel anger, it tells you where your boundaries have been crossed. When you feel sadness, it tells you what you've lost. But these are data points, not commands. The weak man feels fear and stops. The powerful man feels fear and calculates. The weak man feels anger and explodes. The powerful man feels anger and plans. The weak man feels sadness and collapses inward. The powerful man feels sadness and adapts. You are not your emotions. You are the consciousness that observes them. And the moment you understand this distinction, you become dangerous. Because a man who cannot be emotionally manipulated cannot be controlled. Let me tell you about another lie you've swallowed whole. The belief that your struggle is noble, that your suffering has meaning, that the universe is watching your pain and will somehow eventually balance the scales. It won't. Your struggle is not a story where hardship guarantees eventual triumph. It is not a movie where the good guy wins because he endured enough. Real life does not have a narrative arc designed to reward your persistence. The world is indifferent to your suffering. Completely, absolutely, eternally indifferent. You can spend decades doing the right thing, sacrificing, pushing, hoping, and die having never received what you thought you earned. The universe does not owe you anything. Fairness is a human invention, and nature never signed the contract. This is the hardest truth. Effort does not guarantee outcome. Virtue does not guarantee victory. You can play by every rule and still lose to someone who understood that rules are suggestions enforced only when convenient for those in power. So why struggle at all? Because the alternative is worse. Not because struggle is noble, but because the man who surrenders his agency becomes a leaf in the wind, moving by forces he does not control, shaped by circumstances he did not choose, living a life that belongs to everyone but himself. You struggle not because the world will reward you, but because the act of imposing your will upon chaos is the only source of meaning available to conscious beings. You do not struggle for the universe's approval. You struggle because you refuse to be shaped by forces outside yourself. This is the Nietzschean reality they don't teach you. There is no inherent meaning in existence. There is only the meaning you create through action, through will, through the refusal to accept the hand you've been dealt as the final word on who you are. The comfortable lie is that if you're good and you try hard, everything works out. The uncomfortable truth is that you must become the kind of man who makes things work out. Not through hope, not through fairness, but through strategic action, calculated risk, and the willingness to do what others won't. Suffering is not ennobling, it is simply suffering. What you do with it determines whether you're a victim or a strategist. Now we arrive at the most seductive lie of all. Be yourself. 3 words that have destroyed more potential than any external oppression ever could. You've been sold this idea that authenticity is the highest virtue, that showing up exactly as you are with no filter, no strategy, no adaptation is somehow brave, that your vibe attracts your tribe, and if people don't accept the real you, they don't deserve you. This is cope disguised as empowerment. Your authentic self is nothing more than the accumulated habits, traumas, and conditioning of your past. It is not sacred, it is not fixed. It is simply the version of you that required the least amount of effort to become. And here's the cut. Most people's authentic selves are not impressive. The authentic you might be lazy, undisciplined, fearful, petty, insecure, and mediocre. The authentic you might prefer comfort over growth, validation over truth, and ease over excellence. The authentic you is the product of a society that benefits from your weakness. So no, you should not be yourself. You should become someone worth being. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must learn to be both lion and fox, to have the strength to terrify wolves and the cunning to recognize traps. He did not write, "Be authentic and hope people respect your journey." He understood that adaptation is survival, that strategic presentation is power, and that the man who shows all his cards loses the game. This doesn't mean living as a fake. It means understanding that you contain multitudes, and wisdom lies in knowing which version of yourself to deploy in which context. The you at war is not the you at peace. The you negotiating is not the you loving. The you leading is not the you learning. Context determines optimal strategy, and the man who insists on being authentic in every situation is simply too rigid to win. Real self-mastery is not finding yourself. It's building yourself consciously, strategically, with the understanding that you are not a fixed entity discovering your truth. You are a work in progress, sculpting your reality. The weak seek to be accepted as they are. The strong, they come what the situation demands, and they do it without apology, without internal conflict, because they understand that identity is fluid and power lies in adaptation. Let's talk about your relationships. You believe that vulnerability creates intimacy, that showing your wounds invites love, that needing someone is proof of how much you care. All lies. Need is not love. It is desperation wearing love's mask. And the moment you make your emotional stability dependent on another person, you hand them the keys to your destruction. Watch a man in love. Watch how he sacrifices his frame, his standards, his self-respect, because he fears losing access to validation he should be generating internally. Watch him rationalize betrayal, accept disrespect, tolerate behavior he'd never accept from anyone else, all because he has outsourced his worth to someone else's presence. This is not love, this is addiction. The Machiavellian truth about relationships. People respect what they cannot fully control. The moment you become predictable, attainable, and emotionally dependent, you become boring. Not because humans are cruel, but because we are wired to value scarcity, challenge, and strength. You were taught that relationships require communication, compromise, and vulnerability. And you interpreted that to mean you should expose every insecurity, process every feeling aloud, and make your partner responsible for your emotional regulation. Wrong. Intimacy is not created through need. It's created through two sovereign individuals choosing each other from a position of strength, not clinging to each other from a position of fear. The man who says, "I need you," has already lost. The man who says, "I choose you," maintains his power because implicit in that statement is, "I could choose otherwise." This doesn't mean cruelty. It means clarity. It means understanding that the highest form of love is not codependence, it's mutual sovereignty. Two people who could survive alone but choose to build together because the alliance serves both. Stop confessing your weaknesses like they're gifts. Stop treating emotional dependence like depth. Stop mistaking your inability to be alone for proof of how much you care. The only person who will never abandon you is you. Build that relationship first. Become the kind of man who is complete without external validation. Then, and only then, will you be capable of real connection, because you'll be offering strength, not seeking salvation. You have been taught to seek comfort, a comfortable job, a comfortable relationship, a comfortable life, safety, security, predictability. These are held up as the markers of success, the reward for years of playing by the rules. But comfort is not the goal. It is the cage. Every time you choose the comfortable path, you are choosing to remain exactly who you are right now. Every time you avoid discomfort, you are voting against your own evolution. Comfort is the slow death of potential. Nature does not build strength through ease. Muscles grow under resistance. Character forms under pressure. Greatness emerges from the willingness to endure what others will not. And yet you've been conditioned to avoid all forms of suffering. To numb yourself with distraction, consumption, and shallow pleasure. To medicate discomfort with food, screens, substances, and validation. To build the life so soft that the slightest hardship feels like catastrophe. This is deliberate. A comfortable population is a controllable population. Men who fear discomfort do not rebel. They do not take risks. They do not build empires or challenge systems. They simply comply and consume and slowly atrophy into shadows of what they could have been. Machiavelli wrote, "Where the willingness is great, the difficulties cannot be great. Not because difficulties disappear, but because a man with true will does not measure his life by comfort. He measures it by what he built despite discomfort." The Roman generals understood this. They lived with their soldiers, ate the same food, endured the same cold. Not because they had to, but because they knew. The man who can endure what others cannot will outlast, outthink, and outmaneuver them. Your addiction to comfort is your weakness. Every easy choice you make is a small surrender. Every time you choose what feels good over what is necessary, you train yourself for mediocrity. And here's the dark irony. The pursuit of comfort guarantees eventual discomfort because the soft life makes you weak, and weakness invites exploitation. The man who never trains for hardship is destroyed by the first real crisis. The man who avoids all conflict is consumed by the first real enemy. You cannot negotiate with reality. You either prepare for it or it prepares you. And now we arrive at the final, most dangerous lie. That you have time. You tell yourself you'll start tomorrow, next week, next year, when things settle down, when you're ready, when the moment is right. But every second you spend waiting is a second you lose forever. Time does not care about your plans. It does not pause while you gather courage. It moves relentlessly toward the only guaranteed outcome, your death. You are dying right now. With every breath, you are closer to the end than you were a moment ago. And you are spending that finite, irreplaceable resource scrolling, planning, hoping, and preparing for a perfect moment that will never come. This is not motivational speaking. This is fact. You will die. Everyone you love will die. Everything you're afraid of losing will be lost eventually anyway. Your fears are not protecting you from loss. They are guaranteeing that you lose without ever having truly played. The Stoics practiced memento mori, remember death, not to become morbid, but to become present. Because the man who understands his own mortality stops wasting time on things that do not matter. He stops seeking approval from people he doesn't respect. He stops delaying the work that calls to him. He stops living for some imagined future and starts extracting everything from the present. Your time is the only non-renewable resource you possess, and you are spending it like a man who believes he's immortal. How many hours have you lost to distraction? How many years have you spent waiting for permission, for confidence, for the right circumstances? How much of your finite existence have you traded for comfort, for safety, for the approval of people who won't remember your name a decade after you're gone? You have been gifted consciousness in a universe that is mostly void. You have been given the capacity to think, to create, to impose meaning on chaos. And you are spending that gift refreshing feeds, watching other people live, and telling yourself you'll start living when you're ready. When will you be ready? Never. because readiness is a myth. You become ready by starting before you're ready. You build confidence through action, not contemplation. The man who waits for certainty will wait forever because certainty does not exist. Here is the most liberating and terrifying truth I can offer you. Nothing you do ultimately matters in the grand cosmic sense. The universe will not remember you. The heat death awaits us all. And yet this is precisely why everything you do matters. Because if there is no grand judge, no cosmic reward, no inherent meaning, then the only meaning is what you make. The only legacy is what you build. The only life worth living is the one you consciously create instead of passively accept. You are free, terrifyingly, completely free. Free to waste your time or spend it wisely. Free to live according to someone else's script or write your own. Free to remain comfortable and small or to pursue something that terrifies and transforms you. But freedom requires choice, and choice requires the death of your illusions. So here we are. You came seeking content. You found a mirror. Everything I've said you already knew. Somewhere beneath the layers of conditioning. Everything I've said you already knew. Somewhere beneath the layers of conditioning. Beneath the comfortable stories you tell yourself, you've always known. You've known that your goodness without power makes you irrelevant. You've known that your emotions control you more than you control them. You've known that your struggle is not inherently meaningful. You've known that authenticity without excellence is just stagnation with better branding. You've known that your need for others is weakness disguised as love. You've known that comfort is killing you. You've known that time is running out. You've always known. The question is, what will you do with that knowledge? Most will close this video and return to their illusions. They will find reasons why this doesn't apply to them, why their situation is different, why they'll start tomorrow. They will choose the comfort of denial over the discomfort of transformation. And they will die having never truly lived. But some of you will feel something shift, not motivation that fades, but recognition. The recognition that you have been asleep, that you have been playing a game with rules designed to keep you weak, that you have been offered a version of life that asks nothing of you except compliance. And you will reject it. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly in the decisions you make when no one is watching, in the discipline you practice when it would be easier to quit, in the standards you maintain when the world tells you to lower them, in the truth you speak when lies would be more comfortable. This is not a call to action. This is a call to awareness. Because once you see the game, you can't unsee it. Once you recognize the cage, every day you stay inside becomes a decision. And the man who willingly chooses his cage has no one left to blame. Machiavelli didn't write The Prince for kings. He wrote it for those who wanted to understand power. He didn't offer comfort, hope, or gentle illusions. He showed the world as it is, not as we pretend it to be. So have I. What you do next isn't my responsibility. I'm not your guide, your guru, or your father figure. I'm just a voice, echoing what you already know deep down, but were taught to ignore. You are more capable than you've been led to believe. Stronger than the version of yourself you've quietly settled for. You are not trapped by your circumstances, you are trapped by the story you keep telling yourself about them. The cage. It was never locked. It never needed to be. You were simply convinced the bars were real. They're not. But stepping beyond them demands something most men have lost. The courage to stand alone, to be misunderstood, to stop needing approval and start building a life that's yours, on your terms, in your voice, even if it disappoints the world. That is the price of power. That is the cost of freedom, and most will never pay it. Because the comfortable lies are always there, ready to welcome you back. They offer ease, certainty, belonging. They whisper that if you just stay small enough, quiet enough, agreeable enough, you'll be safe. But you weren't born to be safe. You were born to be awake.